Welcome back to another episode of Agritecture's travel-free digital conference series. My name is Henry Gordon-Smith. I'm the founder and CEO of Agritecture, and together we're going to talk more about the issues facing the global agricultural community and facing our society. The whole mission of this digital conference is to make sure that even though you can't leave your home, you can learn and share ideas as well. So I speak a lot around the world, and many events, at least 10 events that I was going to speak at, were canceled. So we thought to ourselves, how can we promote other thought leaders and give them an opportunity to speak and share ideas? And how can we make sure that you continue to learn? And that's what our digital conference series is all about. So you can learn all about the series. We have over 36 videos already published. Just go to agritecture.com/digital-conference or go straight to our YouTube at youtube.com/agritecture. Now, today, I'm really excited. We're going to be having a bit of a discussion with somebody I truly admire. Meiny Prins, CEO of Priva, is here joining us today. How are you, Meiny?
Hi, Henry. I'm fine. Thank you.
Well, it looks
a little
like
less warm than you, I think.
A little less warm than me, yeah. I'm still in lockdown here in Oman. It's a little later in the day, but it looks like it's quite sunny where you are.
Yeah, it looks pretty good for the Netherlands.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. We know you're very busy. Maybe to start off with, you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do and what Priva does.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to start with Priva, I think it will be nice to share that our mission once started realizing that we can help our growers to increase their yields using less water and using less energy. And a kind of that is sustainability in its heart. And we wanted to grow that value. Our mission also states that making profit is not a goal in itself. It is a meaning for continuity, for creating a climate for people to grow. So that is important for Priva. And the business of Priva, we are a tech company, a technology company. We develop hardware, software, and services in the field of climate controls, water savings and energy savings. And all kinds of solutions according to that. We are active in more than 100 countries in the meantime, supportive to our customers with 16 local offices and about 450 installation partners all over the world. We do have a Priva Academy and our central customer support center. So that is my environment. But in fact, I just love tech. And I love the possibilities that are related to that, according what we can reach with it today.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I mean, that's quite an impact and scale. I remember when I visited the Priva offices, you showed me kind of the control center where you can see growers around the world and the customer service team is there to provide support, but you actually know what's happening with your customers on the ground in basically a real-time way. So that, obviously thinking about agriculture and thinking about some of the challenges we're facing now, that real-time understanding of what's happening with your systems is going to be very important, whether that's because of climate change or because of conditions changing.
Yeah, and it was very interesting to see, talking about this time of the corona and everyone being locked in. Huh? So the borders are closed. And of course, it was so obvious when a customer needed help or we needed to send over consultants, we were just doing that. You have your technical support on site. So you want to be there when the project is really realized. And one of my 500 colleagues would fly in there and make sure that the commission was done well, that you have a local training, that you can start up, that we are connected, that they are connected to the system also here with Priva, so we can... not possible. So
yeah,
we had to learn also ourselves in how can we help a grower in Mexico doing the commissioning by himself. So we can send out the equipment, but we could not help him.
Right.
And that is something we learned, that is also possible. Yes, it takes a little longer. Yes, you need all kinds of digital instruments to do that, but it is possible. So I think at the end, this kind of experiences that we are doing now are also helping us in this digital world, making it easier for everyone to communicate in a different way.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And I think that's what you're talking about with the power of tech and what it can do. And I think one of the things I want to talk about a little bit now is, we've had conversations in the past about society and about the environment and about the things we value. And, with COVID-19, you brought it up a little bit in our earlier conversation. We have to shift really, what do we want as the next world we have after this? I think that's what's on my mind a lot. Even individually,
Yeah.
what's the kind of life do I want? Do I need a gym membership? I work out at home all the time, Do I need to go to restaurants as frequently as I do? Do I need to travel? I had 63 flights last year. I don't think I need to do that again in a year. That's too much,
Yeah.
So how can we change and adapt to that? And I wanted to share one tweet that I had as I was going through this kind of COVID-19 experience, because I think it's, well, I'm curious what you think of it. So, I grew up around the world in a very globalized world. When I was born, everything was super connected already. I was born in Hong Kong. My mom's Czech, my dad's British, all over the world. And so, I kind of tweeted here, globalization created an abundance of things we didn't need and blinded us from investing in the things we really needed, like local food, clean water, community, being around people, safety, and consistent energy. I hope once a vaccine is found, right, this is the end where the crisis is supposed to end, we don't go back to forgetting what we really need to live. That's the true lesson I think we need to learn from this experience. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is really nice to read, because this is typical. The whole story, what I like to share with people is about creating sustainable urban deltas. And that's the fact. Huh? So the story of the sustainable urban delta once started also with the idea that technology-wise, we can already solve so many environmental problems, but we are just not doing it. So why don't we really implement this? Why is the implementation so difficult to get there? And I was picturing that very nice environment, but I thought, oh, okay, let's start with the food production. And then just look at the Netherlands as I mean, it's a small country, but it's a serious city. You can compare us with New York, something like that. And then if you look above the Netherlands, you see like urban and rural and urban and rural and urban and rural. It's like all dots. And those dots are connected with each other. They have the same infrastructure. You can go from the urban area to the rural and to the urban again. But within that, and over the years, it is today that it is a city that also produces more food than it needs itself. And that made me think about all those metropolitan areas constantly extending. So they're growing. And with their growth, they were pushing away their green belts. And the green belts were the areas around the city where food normally was being produced for the city. But it's all gone. It disappeared. So it's far away. It is large scale. It is in areas in the world at this moment where the climate changes are really hitting very hard. It is not sustainable at all, but there's more to it. And that is what I really liked about the tweet that you shared. It is not only, I mean, the food is the most precious thing that we have. Without, then it would not, I mean, there's nothing. So we really need it next to the water, of course. But what if you bring it back to the places where people live, like dots, urban, rural, like connected with each other? It creates entrepreneurship, social coherence. It creates different value to the communities that you start to build up again. It helps people to get connected again to a part of the life that is so important. It helps the city with building up the economy, the economics in a different way. And it helps at the end, of course, too, to reduce the enormous environmental problems that we are causing today with the way we do all that food production now. So that is indeed what this shows. It will be more green, the greenest cities in the world. It will be at the end circular because you can reuse your wastewater for food production. You can be a tomato grower but also deliver your electricity to the neighborhood. So it is, I think, also the most tangible way and easy to start parts of the circular economy that we really badly need now.
Well, thank you for that explanation. I thought it was so exciting when you first told me about the Sustainable Urban Delta Foundation, because it shares so many of my own interests about how we can make cities leaders in their impact. And I think the case of the Netherlands, there's so much to learn from there. And I think if we look at European cities in general, and then in the Middle Ages, how they developed with agriculture nearby. They understood the components of the living area versus the food production area and how those intersected. There's lots to learn from that. If we look in North America and some of the newer cities that have been developed, they built the roads first. They built the cities in a very different attitude. And that's because they were born in a world that was rapidly moving towards globalization, rapidly moving towards industrialization and automation of a lot of these solutions, so they could kind of have that production elsewhere. And I think I love the point you made about the entrepreneurship, because what I find is that as soon as I was exposed to these ideas of greening the city and urban agriculture, I started wanting to find business solutions to that. And that really fostered my entrepreneurship journey. And so I think if we have the ability to grow food or to drive greener cities nearby, in the urban delta, that's what's going to do it. If nobody sees a farm, or nobody's even aware of how a farm functions, how can we start to solve the problems that exist in that system? We need to understand it. We need to be next to it. And the fact is, we live in cities. So give us a bit of background again, a little bit about, how did this, what is the Sustainable Urban Delta Foundation about, and how is it going to maybe implement its mission? Give us a preview of that.
Yeah, well, the foundation itself is really believing that a food producing city is a livable city. Indeed that will boost entrepreneurship and social coherence and create a green environment. The foundation wants to help to kickstart this kind of project. So there is already so much available. So if we can connect all those projects and initiatives that are already there and connect them with each other to inspire indeed other cities too to do the same. Develop a community of food producing cities to bring out even more documentaries. The first one is coming up, and it will be soon. You can find it on YouTube. But also establish a kind of education services. Not that we want to educate ourselves, but we want to bring together those parties that we know from all those years already where the best practices were and how we can learn from each other. I really believe in the power and the era of the city. For me, that is a no-brainer. This is the way it will go. And I believe in that because you already see it so clearly happening. Trump can mention or shout anything, but San Francisco and New York, I mean, they're going their own way. And you see that the big money starts to move. I mean, how painful is it now to discover as a bank that you still did not say goodbye to the fossil fuel industry? Well, we already knew that for years ago. So I think the money starts to move. So now they really are hit. So they realize that it has to go somewhere else. So where do we put our money in now? After this crisis too, that is a very interesting question. And for me, it is a fact that cities are the ones who can really force and speed up all kinds of disruptive innovations. They can be like their testing grounds to try out new things to help and have a better life for the people living in the city. Because today, I mean, how do they facilitate it when every day hundreds and thousands of people are moving to those urban areas? That is quite a challenge. So picture this at the end, and that will be, for me, the nice part of this foundation.
That's a brilliant way to organize it with this kind of network of best practices, because that's what's needed is people need to learn what others are doing and how to apply that. But I absolutely agree with you, about the point of kind of how cities are driving this change and what an opportunity that is. I absolutely agree with that 100%. I think it's also really interesting to go back to the Netherlands example. It's almost like density itself is what drives that. As a country is dense, or as a city is dense, there starts to be this need to think about others and how those competing resources are going to work in such a dense environment. And, having grown up in Hong Kong, you really start to see the creativity and how much you can do with so little space, and how you can integrate things like nature. The way the gardens are integrated into the city in Hong Kong in certain areas is very impressive. And that inspired me a lot. But I think it's, in the Netherlands, you really look at that and they manage the whole country. I mean, there's not really any kind of raw, unmanaged forests or anything out there. It's all really managed. And I think that that's what cities can do. And also it's a reminder, what you said, that consumers are the ones that are driving the world. We are the ones that actually have the power in the end. We maybe don't have power alone, but as a whole city like New York, we can drive a lot by saying we don't want to invest in fossil fuels, and those decisions can shift things. So I think that's really interesting, and also brings up kind of what urban agriculture can do, because urban agriculture is about being very creative with less space. You rarely have a lot of space in urban agriculture. And so you have to kind of leapfrog your knowledge very quickly. But it sounds like you have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, because for me, it can be all of it. So it can be from rooftop to vertical to indoor to really large scale.
Yeah.
And that is those metropolitan areas. Even if you would go to the United States and you fly above, you see New York and Philadelphia and those big mega cities, already mega cities, they are also growing together too. So those are those super cities of 50 million people. And they have enough green space in between. But that green spaces have a certain value. And until now, I mean, real estate would come and they say, okay, we buy the land and we will develop it, and then it has a higher value. So how can you create different value to that land so that it will stay? And the value is not from the moment that you purchase it or sell it. The value there is much more from what does it do to the total economics of the city at the end, to people having a job, to the education part, to make sure that there'll be also an energy center from there supplying electricity to the town, or to be sure that you can reuse the wastewater, or have your fish farming, or have your happy chickens there. You know what I mean? So you can build different business models based on exactly what you're saying. It's a dense area, it is expensive land, there is a lack of good water. We have most of the time some energy problems that we need to solve in a sustainable way. So you can bring those things together and then rethink also not only the way the cities are designed, what you like to say, but also rethink the way we're building up our business models. That is
well, that's the
for
key,
me my inspiration.
How do you make that profitable model out of that? I studied sustainability management, and in our degree we would do cost benefit analysis, where you would have to try and understand some of these difficult things to quantify. So for example, we were looking at a wind farm that had to be connected to, it was kind of on the edge of a bird estuary. And how do you value the natural ecosystem of the bird estuary versus the benefits of the renewable energy from the wind farm? And so we have to go through this process, because the world is based upon dollars and cents. And that's how it works. And so you have to quantify those impacts and those trade-offs in an interesting way. Do you think now the world is ready for that? Do you think the world is ready now, especially after COVID-19, to value things like green space, to value things like reduction of heat island effect, to value things like entrepreneurship around things that are, providing livelihoods for us in the future, and not just, hedge funds? Do you think that do you think we're going to learn from this enough? Do you think the cities are going to learn enough from this?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's say it this way. If we haven't learned from this time, then we will learn anyway. So there is no doubt that we need to change the system that we are currently working in. Because if it is not this virus, then it will be the climate changes that even hit us harder than we ever can imagine. Mm-hmm. So we need to, so better do it now. That would be my, something I want to state, of course. But I'm also afraid that there are still too many institutes in this world who are having a different interest. So and we better just set them apart, leave them in their own world, and let's build that new world next to it, what we think it should go to. And I also agree that it should be you and me and all those others who have to stand up and show that it can be done differently already. And we don't need it. So we don't need that existing old system. We cannot look backwards. I mean, we can learn from what happened in backwards, but we have to live the future. And that is the point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be the ones that are innovating in those areas. I agree. We have to have people that are advocating and standing up for it. We have to have the consumers. I'm just really curious, you know, if this goes on for until the end of 2020 and into 2021, right? Social distancing, a new society, it starts to, that I think could make some changes. I mean, I certainly don't, I've been working virtually now for 60 days. I certainly don't think I need to go as many places, and maybe I have an excuse now, which is useful to me, right? To say, actually, I can't travel on site. I would, you know, I do like it. I do enjoy it a lot, but this is kind of that kind of thing. And so, you know, if it goes on for long enough, it may change, but I wanted to share one image that reminded me, you know, of what you were talking about, because I think it just really captures it. So let me pull it up one second. Because I saw this early on when COVID-19 was happening, and I thought, okay, well, this is what we're talking about. And this is essentially nature. COVID-19 in a lot of ways is nature telling us, giving us a warning, another warning. We've had others before, right? So, you know, we talk about flattening the curve. This is it. That's the COVID-19 curve here.
Yes. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is if we flatten it. And then, you know, this is climate change. This is the big one that's coming. You know, and it's like a signal, it's a reminder. And I think in our lives, if you do anything unhealthy for yourself, if you're smoking too much, if you're drinking too much, if you're partying too much, if you're not sleeping enough, your body will give you a warning. It's going to give you a warning. You're going to have a really, really bad day, or you're going to do bad at a meeting, or you're going to disappoint a friend. And you have a chance to recover from that. The challenge here is that we have to all agree that this is a warning. The majority of us have to agree this is a warning. We have to collaborate to reduce that. So it's super difficult because it's a global challenge, and we don't have anything in our history where we've collaborated globally until millions have died. Then we start to collaborate. But that's the difficulty with the challenge at hand.
Yes, I agree. Yes. The good news is, of course, that we already know what we can do to avoid worse.
Yes.
And I think we should strive for that and together. Yeah? So the more we can connect, and let's just start. And that is also the good part. I mean, we intend to make a problem so big that no one oversees it anymore and everyone stops. So there is no change. So if we bring if we bring it closer to us, to something that we can really touch, and let's just agree that we start with food production, bringing it back to where the people live. I mean, that is tangible. That is the easy way, and it has so much impact. But at least then we start somewhere, and then all the other things that are now disruptive in this world, according to our environment, it's going to disappear anyway. I mean, we will see it disappearing within a decade if we just start doing this.
Well, thank you so much, Meiny, for your time. Meiny Prins, CEO of Priva. You can learn more about Priva at priva.com. And be sure to follow Meiny as the Sustainable Urban Delta Foundation launches and this very amazing documentary, which is coming out soon. Agritecture will be promoting it, so you're definitely going to see it and learning more about what sustainable urban deltas are and how we can encourage them and how you can be part of the solution. Thank you so much, Meiny.
Thank you too, Henry. Bye-bye.
Bye.